Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do a book recommendation video. Basically, there's not really a lot of time left for the cozy season to arrive, so I was gathering myself a list of books that I really want to read this cozy season. So I thought, why not to give you guys a list of 10 books that you can read this upcoming cozy season. Let's not waste any time, let's get right into it. So I have segregated this whole pile into four categories. So let's get started. The first category is Ghibli inspired book. The first book that I would like to recommend is this duology by Sudhamurti that's called The Magic of the Lost Temple series, and the second book is called The Magic of the Lost Story. It has the same protagonist who discovers things in her own village. She is someone who lives in city, enjoys city life, but times and now comes back to her village and experiences village life. The way village life has been described in this book is just phenomenal. It takes me back to my days when I would look forward to go to my village. It's so beautiful. It shows the love of your grandparents, relatives, and the love of the mountains, nature's river so beautifully. This talks about the adventure that she goes on to find this lost temple of the village that used to be really famous in olden times, and this is the adventure that she goes on to find a lost story, and visits a lot of people and takes their interview to know what they know about the story, because she thinks that this story is something that deserves to be known because it's a very inspirational story. So I loved reading both of them. It gives you such a nice, cool vibes of the village, and it's very calming. It's really calming to read. You can go for this. The next book that I would like to recommend is The Sweet Bean Paste by Durian Sukegawa. This book is again a very cozy little book about these three people who are kind of outcast of the society, but they form a familial bond and they start codepending, coexisting on each other to live a life that fulfills themselves. This person is an ex convict who has just come out of the jail and wants to turn his life from, like, scratch, and opens a dorayaki shop. Dorayaki is basically Dora cake from Doraemon. And this woman is an old 70-year-old woman, I think, who comes to the shop and asks for a job. And this girl is a high school girl who is an outcast from her school. So these three form a bond, and I guess that's what it talks about. Because I have not read this book, and I really, really want to read this book, but I've heard great reviews. So this is a cozy book that I have not read, but I am rooting for it. The next book that we are going to talk about is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I cannot explain how this book is so freaking magical. It takes you into a world of fantasy. This is an ode to storytelling. A lot of stories intertwined with each other come into a single narrative and tell you a beautiful tale about stories. So yeah, just go for it because it is completely magical realism, fantasy, exactly what you would look in a Ghibli studio movie. This is the nearest that you can go to a Studio Ghibli movie. Love it. Now, the next book that I would recommend is The Bookshop of Hyungnom Dam. I cannot really pronounce the name actually. I don't have the copy with me here right now, but that book is about this woman who is like in her midlife crisis. She decides to divorce the husband, leave the family, leave the job, and open a bookshop. Her inner calling is opening a bookshop, and then we meet strange characters that come into the bookshop and share their stories and everything. So it's really, really cozy as well. Gives you that Japanese and Korean, and feels really Stitchy. It's really magical to read, really cozy to read, so you can go for that as well. that's our first category done. The next category that I'm going for is Cozy Classics. So the first classic that I'm going to talk about is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. This is one of her lesser known works, but it is so freaking cozy to read. This is about this girl who is obsessed with reading gothic fiction, a lot of gothic and spooky things, and due to some circumstances she ends up living in a gothic castle for some days, and she feels that something eerie is going on, and she starts to suspect the man of the castle that he most probably killed his wife, and starts to suspect him, investigate him, meddle in their businesses, and it's full of gothic castle vibes, mystery, spooky. Love it. The next book that I'm going to recommend is The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery. This is one of my favorite classics out there because it is so freaking cozy. This is about this girl who is very obeying, very shy, doesn't ever speak back to adults, is living in a conservative family, but she suddenly finds out that she is about to die. She has really less time. Then she decides that now I will live to my fullest, I will do whatever I want to, and then she starts to give the savage comebacks to the family members that I enjoyed so freaking much. I loved it. I never thought that a classic book could have such comebacks. This also has a very beautiful and passionate love story, and a lots and lots of imagery of nature, of Ireland. Everything's very beautiful. It's so cozy to read. I had time of my life when I was reading this book. I enjoyed it to my fullest, so you can go for it. This is by L.M. Montgomery. This is again one of her lesser known works. The most prominent work of hers is The Anne of Green Gables, but that overshadows a lot of good books that she has written, and this is one of that. I'm really glad that I came across it, so go for it. And the next book that I would recommend from this category is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. That book took my heart out, crushed it, and made it again and gave it back to me. That book is so freaking beautiful. I regret reading it on my phone. I really wish I could have the copy with me, but I'm that person that doesn't buy those copy if I have read the book, no matter how good they are. Maybe I'll break that rule for this book, but Little Women is something you should read. This book talks about four sisters that are living in a war-ridden country. The father's in the war, they live with their mother, and it's about them being very different from each other but living together, loving each other, having this familial bond, taking learnings from their mama, and becoming good ladies. Four of them are really different from each other, but how they accommodate each other. I love this book. You should definitely read it. It's really cozy. Definitely you can read it in winters or autumns. It's awesome to read. So that was the category of cozy classics. Let's jump into the next category, that is weird cozy. And that would be any short story collection book by Haruki Murakami. I currently possess 4 of his short story collections, and all of them are very cozy. They are very weird but yet cozy because it has rain, cats, jazz bars, jazz cafes, jazz music, and weird happenings in the alleyway. So they are very cozy elements, and all of the short stories are very beautiful and gives you that spooky, weird, eerie, cozy vibes. Especially you can read it when it's raining in the autumn season. It will be fantastic. Any of the short story collection you can read, or any of Murakami book basically, but I would tell you that these are more cozy if you want to read. And now we have arrived to the very last category, that is cozy non-fiction. You thought non-fiction books cannot be cozy? Absolutely wrong. I do have cozy non-fiction recommendations for you. The first would be A Movable Feast by Ernest Hemingway. This is a non-fiction. This is Ernest Hemingway's memoir of when he arrived into Paris after the war. He was in the trauma that he had. After that, he arrives to Paris and records his day of living in Paris, and how his writing routine is, how he lives with his wife, how he loves the cafe culture of Paris. The cafe culture can affect his writing, how it inspires him, how certain people helped him with his writing process in Paris. His writing style is so phenomenal that whenever he's writing, even non-fiction, it feels fictional, it feels like a story, it feels that you are there with him. You suddenly start to love Paris and you have no reason to, but you love Paris. So the next and the last book of this whole video is going to be On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. This book is a letter to his mother that cannot basically read. He's a Vietnamese expat from Vietnam that lives in US with his mother because the mother has like come to US, like migrated. He talks about his experiences being a homosexual person in those days, being a homosexual and a migrated person in those days. He talks about how the language barrier affected him and his mother, how he grew up to be with a single mother, how sometimes they could not understand each other because the mother is basically a Vietnamese, but he grown up in US cannot fully understand what the mother goes through. But when he has grown up now, he writes this letter to the mother, but the mother cannot read. It's heartbreaking to read. It's so poetic, so beautiful. It gives you that sense of nostalgia, gives you that sense of grief and pain that you can feel for your parents after you have grown up, and really cozy, painfully cozy, I would say. So yeah, we are done with our book recommendation videos. I think I should do more of it, and I love doing them. I love talking about books. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed filming it. Let me know more cozy books in my comment section to have myself a list to read the upcoming season. Bye bye, see you.